Right, it's 1:10 on the 10th of July 2013. I'm just trying a little bit of experimental videoing. I'm going to try to see how far I can get up the road through Roadwater up towards the foot of the incline of the West Somerset Mineral Railway. I did it as a walk last year sometime. As far as I can remember, although the roads are very narrow and quite awkward if you should meet another vehicle coming the other way, it seemed to me that you could drive up through there okay. So I'm going to try it. You get so far and then you're on sort of permitted roads, not generally open to the public roads, but they are permitted. So let's just go and see what we can do. I had a little bit of trouble with reflections in the windscreen, so yes, I can see they're still there to some extent, but never mind. We'll see how we get on with this recording. If it's not good, we'll just scrap it. But Roadwater is a rather interesting little village. Roads seem to get narrower and narrower. So here, I wonder what that mist is in the road ahead. Is it dust? There's a car in front of me going through and blowing out some dust. Because we're in an unusual period now of hot sunny weather we've had this week. Things are drying out. But you've got to be quite alert on this road because there's so many shadows and so many sharp bends. See, my little bracket is vibrating a bit there. I might have to increase the support a bit later. Quite pretty under the trees. But you don't really want to meet a farm tractor with a big trailer coming down through here. That's very often you do. You can't see it over the hedge to the left. That's where the old West Somerset Mineral Railway used to run up this valley from Watchet. And it had quite a decent little station in Roadwater, but all of that is gone now. If you do manage to track down my previous video of still pictures when I did this walk, you can see what little bits remain. Also did a whole series of active videos when we walked down the mineral line incline and did a complete 8-mile rotary trip in the area, which absolutely shattered me. I'm not used to walking 8 miles. I'm glad I did it then. Very interesting scenery. Just coming up to a very sharp bend. I always like to give a bit of a horn warning here. Something could come out there very suddenly. This village is a bit like Combe Martin, and the fact that it's a long, thin village all spread out along the sides of this road. Another blind man. This is the one and only shop in Roadwater. They seem to stay open fantastic period of time. But further we get in and up this valley, the narrower these roads get. We've got to turn down a very narrow road to the left in a moment. That road is literally only wide enough. Where am I? Next one. Overshot? No. Up here. Oh, I'm on it and hardly realised it. Right down through here. Because with this bright sun, which is so unusual, I think it's going to look quite different. I'm just about wide enough to get a biggish car through here. They were actually turning now right onto what was the track bed of the West Somerset Mineral Railway. So back in the 1860s, steam trains came along here on standard gauge track, single track. Yes, the contrast between light and dark is quite large today. When we've got grey skies and it's cooler, there's very little difference between under trees and in the open. Has he got something to move into there? Yes, I believe he has. There's another fine car. Snap. You can tell this was an old railway line bed because it's so straight. But now the car is rubbing into the vegetation on my left. There's very little clearance on the right. But things get narrower further on. Signs of horses having been this way. There was actually a paper mill up here on the right, which is still active. They've got a bit of a niche market with some very high quality papers. houses here, but oops, I'm on that black bin. I can't turn the camera sideways. Perhaps you can see the high hills behind. You can see why the railway got so far in this direction. Then they had to take things up an incline. But the paper mill is just coming up on my right. And this is the end of the public roads as such, really. Oh, it's a little further. It's a little bit further. There's a paper mill, although you can't see it, it's off to the left now. And this is really the end of the public road, but there's a little notice in the earth saying it's a permitted road, so even the trees are coming down over things. Up through this surface, which is quite rough in places. In fact, the little notice there, no unauthorised vehicles, and then the small print about you are permitted if you want access. So what we want. It's going to be quite rough places. It's quite amazing. There's that's a bit of a dip. Just around this bend here, where you think you're really getting to the back of beyond. The valley opens out quite wide for a brief period, and some lovely houses just off to the right. Gosh, what was that? See, these, even the holes are covered by the dark shadows. Oh dear. Yes. This might be too big a car really to come up through here. We'll get as far as we can anyway. Yeah, I can see some other big holes ahead of us now. It's mostly 4x4s that come along here. That's a pretty big hole where I'm going into. Took slowly. See now with the shadows you can't really see where the road is going. Alright, there's a big hole there to watch out for. Yeah, certainly can't do this in a hurry. There aren't very many places where you can turn around either. So I hope we just don't find ourselves wedged up some narrow bit of path that's have to be reversed out from. I can see a car ahead, but I think it's just parked up. Yeah, I think we're approaching that houses I was talking about on the right. Yeah, it's a pity I can't pan sideways because there's a little bit of a valley. It's a very nice house there. Tree stumps just to guide the way. Make sure that you don't park off the road. Yeah, so how would you turn here if you had to? Not easily. I think it does get wider in places. Bumpy. Yeah, can you imagine little, well, not little, standard gauge locomotive and train coming up through here, way back. trees wouldn't have been so closed in though then, or they would have been set fire to. Some rather large holes there I'm trying to make sure I don't drop down into. Cool. Some of them, you just don't see how deep they are until you find your car's gone into them. Now, what's this like here? There's a river down to the right, a small one. I was going to suggest to my wife that ooh, that's a really big hole there. Careful. That we did this trip one day in her little open top sports car. But I think by this stage she would have said no further. Gosh, they're coming down to touch us, the trees. Another big hole coming. Gosh, hope we can get through this one.